This episode of the Helping Healing Humor
Sons of Blunder
podcast is brought to you in partnership with ministryleague.com. We would love for more people to discover this show, so please rate and review us on iTunes or your podcast provider. Feel free to share on your social media and subscribe at benandtravis.com for the free ebook 28 Days of Focused Living.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis, Sons of Blunder, college football, pick'em, bowl mania. We have honored guest, the official Barner of the show, Blake Hollimon in the house with us. Blake, how you doing? I hope your Christmas was amazing.
And it was amazing. Auburn got a new football coach, so I'm ready to roll.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, well, that was entertaining to watch for all of us that aren't Auburn fans, just because of the chaos of college coaching searches. Like, the internet has really set that to high-level entertainment, whoever it is. I'll be honest, as an Alabama fan, I'm not looking forward to that day and prefer not to even think about it for, many years from now, obviously, when Nick Saban's head has been frozen and is revived and put on a robot and is still coaching Alabama after I'm long dead and gone. So anyways, Blake, I'm glad you're with us. Ben, you doing okay?
I'm doing great. Finally feeling way better from the last couple of weeks. We are been watching some football, just chilling out around the house, riding bikes that we got for Christmas, playing basketball in the new basketball goal. So, just chilling and relaxing and probably going to get back to work this week, it sounds like.
Well, Will the Thrizzle, how you doing, man? Good Christmas?
Man, we had phenomenal Christmas. Headed to the beach tomorrow to ring in the new year. So pretty excited about that. Munch on some seafood and watch some football. So looking forward to closing out 2020 and hopeful for a good 2021.
We'll get right down to it, fellas. We're going to be picking today the Bowl Mania that starts. I think our next game kicks off on Tuesday, December 29th, and we're picking through the playoff, the semifinals, and then hopefully we'll come back to you with our national championship pick with a little more in-depth, picking winners based on colors of uniforms, that type of thing. For the college football national championship. And then also the Sons of Blunder 2020 team. We'll be picking that as well in the second episode. But for now, we're going to pick up with the December 29th. That's Tuesday, December 29th. Cheez It Bowl, number 21, Oklahoma State, our Okie Light for our Boomer Sooner fans, at 7-3 versus the number 18 Miami Hurricanes, 8-2. A lot of orange going on in this game, which means it will be difficult for me to watch, except for the fact that I'm pretty sure Cheez Its are one of the greatest snacks of all the times. And it's really hard for me to stop eating them, which means there's probably some illegal substance used on them. But anyways, it's the U, which had a better season than I remember, 8-2. And Oklahoma State 7-3. And I'm going to go with the Hurricanes. I'm going to go with the higher ranked team just because they usually have a ton of talent down there. And I expect them to tackle a little bit better than Oklahoma State. And that's just me being on anti-Big 12 bias. I really have no idea. So I'm assuming that Miami probably tackles a little better since they play in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So that's my pick there, the Miami Hurricanes, not as though I love them all that much because I'm still down with I'm 40 years old. I'm a man, which there's a video of Ben spoofing from earlier this year. So I'm picking the Hurricanes. It's on to Ben Hayes with the Valero Alamo Bowl on Tuesday, December 29th as well.
I actually did a little homework into this one. I'm not much of I don't get to watch all the football games. Obviously, I watch a lot more SEC than I do any of the others. But just kind of looking over this, you got 6-3 Texas Longhorns over the 4-1 or versus the 4-1 Colorado Buffalo. Looks like that Colorado had some wins over some decent teams, UCLA, Stanford, but they were all fairly close. It looks like they had a loss to Utah, 38-21. But Texas, they even though they had 3 losses, it was to TCU, to Oklahoma, and to Iowa State, and those are turned out to be pretty decent teams this year. It seemed like. So I'm gonna go with number 20, Texas. I think Texas is gonna to pull this out. Of course, the biggest thing that I've kind of looked at on some of these teams, but I don't know how it's affected Texas, is there's a bunch of people who aren't playing in these bowl games this year due to COVID and other stuff. And some of the other games that I'm calling, I think are going to come a little bit more into play. Some of that's going to come into play with some guys sitting out that are some pretty tough opponents. So, but I'm going to go with Texas. I think Texas is going to be the stronger team, even though their record may not indicate that completely. They've had some tougher opponents, I think.
All right. Well, I'm going to come back on Wednesday, December 30th. Duke's Mayo Bowl, which probably disgusts many of you, but I'm
Michael Deese out there loving it. I'm sure.
I'm contemplating eating a bologna sandwich with mayonnaise during this game just to get in the mood. But you got Wake Forest at 4-4, the Demon Deacons. And if you've done any church work in your life, you know a couple of those. So versus the Wisconsin Badgers at 3-3, which we don't need no stinking Badgers. But to keep my brother,
you better be careful.
I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying. My brother Bradley has family up in Wisconsin. We actually have a Wisconsin kid helmet that my daughter runs around in from time to time. So I'm going to go with the Badgers. Probably Wake Forest probably going to make me pay for that, but I am going to go with Wisconsin here. Now football gets real because we're going to go to Blake Hollimon, our official football picker, which is better than official booger picker, but pretty close. Those two things are pretty close. But anyways, Blake, you're going to pull down the Cotton Bowl, December 30th.
Yeah, the Cotton Bowl, it's always a fun bowl to watch out there in Texas. I remember back in the old school days watching that game come up. But we've got Florida and Oklahoma. They're 2 top teams in college football this year. This is probably will be the highest ranked game that we will watch up until the playoff coming up next week. But you got Florida, their high-powered offense. I love watching Florida play offense. They have weapons all over the field. Kyle Trask, I believe he's a Heisman finalist, and I love the little scat wide receiver they have, Tony. I really think Alabama had all they could handle with them.
I don't like those guys as much.
I know they're fun to watch though. Oklahoma, they're really young this year. Spencer Rattler, he's had some growing pains. He was a top recruit out of high school, and I just think Florida is going to be too strong in all phases for Oklahoma. So I'm going with Florida by 10.
Awesome. I like
he's giving us the amount that they're going down by too.
I like it. Before we get to New Year's Eve, I do want to plug really quickly as we get ready to kick off the year. We're starting a new challenge on Facebook.com/groups/Ben and Travis. It's 21 days to kick off 2021. We'd love for you to join us. We're going to be encouraging each other to do the wonderful Super 21 exercise for those who are really looking for a challenge. 21 push-ups, 21 sit-ups, 19 push-ups, 19 sit-ups, all the way down to 1 and every day, and try to get in a mile of some sort, running, jogging, crawling, crying, whatever that may be, for the first 3 weeks of 2021. Of course, do what you can. We don't want you getting hurt or anything like that, but we do invite you to that, to join us for that the first 3 weeks of January. That's Facebook.com/groups/Ben and Travis. And we get to our New Year's Eve picks. Ben Hayes, you got the Armed Forces Bowl for us.
Armed Forces Bowl with Tulsa 6-2 and Mississippi State, who is 3-7. And man, Mississippi State came out strong, or we thought they did. They came out strong and beat LSU first game. Everybody's like, what? This is going to be a phenomenal year for Mississippi State. And then after that, they tanked. They lost to Arkansas and Kentucky and Texas A&M and Alabama. And then they finally got another win with Vandy. And then they tanked again and then finally beat Missouri. So Mississippi State struggling. Tulsa only lost to Oklahoma State, who is ranked number 21 right now, and Cincinnati, who, was right there in the running to be in the top 4, but didn't make it. But Tulsa is, I think, right here going to be my pick. I think Tulsa is going to take on Mississippi State, even though I do believe the power of the SEC. I think it'll be closer probably than most people think it will be. But I'm going to go with Tulsa in this pick, and I'm going to go against the SEC. So don't hate me.
It's great to pass the ball, I guess. But you do have to have some pulse of a running game somewhere in the sport of football occasionally. And Mississippi State, they're going to need some of that. All right. New Year's Eve, the Arizona Bowl. We got Ball State, which is the most creative name for a college I've ever heard. Not really, but versus number 22, San Jose State. And I'm going with the Spartans of San Jose State just because Spartans are fun to think about and kind of disgusting. But you can do that history lesson on your own. But that's what I think about, although San Jose State's been tearing everybody up this year. So that's who I'm going to roll with. Will?
The Liberty Bowl. Okay. We got West Virginia at 5-4 against Army at 9-2. So got a real expert reason why I'm going to pick the team that I'm going with. When it comes to politics, I've always been a big Clay Travis fan because Clay Travis has always been just kind of tell you how it is. When it comes to sports, there's a man by the name of Pat McAfee who is kind of just give it to you how it is, never really plays sides. He was also probably one of the most infamous punters and kickers in the history of the NFL. And so he went to West Virginia. And so I'm going to roll with West Virginia because of Pat McAfee and simply no other reason besides that.
All right, Blake, I think you're up, bub.
All right, we got the Texas Bowl featuring a team that should not be in a bowl game. We got the Arkansas Razorbacks at 3-7, and they're going to play the Horned Frogs from TCU. Now, this game it's kind of odd because we've never seen a team with such a losing record in a bowl game, and then TCU haven't really beaten anyone that's worth anything. So I'm going to go for coaching here. I love Arkansas's head coach Sam Pittman. He's in his first season with Arkansas, maybe a second, but he came over from Georgia, and I really liked him as the O-line coach at Georgia, and so he's got Arkansas headed in the right direction. If they can ever get Felipe Franks to run out of eligibility, I think that program can move forward. He's been in the SEC for about 9 years. And
like Hunter Renfrow for Clemson.
Yeah. Well, at least Hunter Renfrow was good.
He lied, but he's good.
But you've got those guys over for Arkansas, and then you've got Gary Patterson, who has had a lot of success with TCU in the past. But I think I'm going to go with the 3-7 Arkansas Razorbacks. I saw the spread. The spread is TCU -5, but I think Sam Pittman, Arkansas, they're headed in the right direction, and I like what they're doing in Arkansas. So I'm going to go with the upset, Arkansas over TCU.
I mean, don't sleep on Arkansas. They beat Mississippi State.
They should have beat a couple other people, but we won't get into that, will we? All right.
That's true.
All right, Ben.
Yeah, let's move along.
Let's move along. All right. So next up, we have the New Year's Day Peach Bowl. And this one is really going to be a fun game, I think. I am looking forward to this and hope I get to watch it. This is number 9, Georgia, 7-2 versus the undefeated Cincinnati Bearcats. Number 8 right now, like we said, number 8, but they're undefeated. They were right there in the mix, being talked about for the playoffs. Didn't make it. They've throttled a bunch of teams this year that they have played, and of course, Georgia's only 2 losses were to the 2 teams that ended up in the SEC championship game. So this is going to be tight. Georgia's got a bunch of players. I think about 3 pretty key players that are going to be out in this game. That's probably going to affect some stuff, but I don't think I can pick against the SEC here. I'm gonna say that Cincinnati's 9-0 undefeated season is gonna come toppling down, like we saw another one last night happen. So I think I'm gonna go with Georgia for the win here. It's gonna be tight though. I think it'll be tight.
All right, that brings me to the Citrus Bowl with the Auburn Tigers at 6-4 versus number 14 Northwestern 6-2.
How did you get to pick this one?
I was about to say there was no randomizing in the picking of games.
The luck of the draw, man.
Yeah, as he wears his crimson
Yeah.
jersey.
I do have a question, Blake. Who is going to be the coach? Who's the interim here?
So the interim is Kevin Steele, defensive coordinator.
All right. Okay. So Kevin Steele. Anybody setting out for Auburn? We full go. Heard of anybody?
Well, if our best player was setting out, we probably wouldn't be missing much. So
There you go. It's hard for me to pick a second Big Ten team to beat Auburn in a bowl 2 years running. That's 2 references to Minnesota, right? So don't feel bad, Big Paul, because we got beat by them too back in the Music City Bowl days. I'm just trying to think of what Auburn's motivation is here. And
do we have none?
I know, and that's when you're the most scary and things get crazy. But you're not playing on the plains, so that's a whole thing in itself.
Does Auburn Jesus?
But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going with the Tigers. I'm going with them. I think they're gonna beat Vandy, Big Ten Vandy, and it might not even be pretty. It might get ugly because I think Bo Nix is the type of player that's going to give Northwestern a hard time. As long as he doesn't arm punt a bunch, we're good. Okay. How about Tank? Is he playing? He's going to be.
He should play. He is our best player, and if we didn't have him, we would probably lose to someone like Sheffield High School. So.
Okay, I think they're gonna get that W there, Blake. I think they can get that W.
Well, that makes one of us.
There you go. So now we're on to everyone. All of us will get a vote. If it's 2-2, then we will go to the coin flip of doom. And so we're going to start off with the New Year's Day Rose Bowl, which this is the first bowl game Alabama's been to that in a long time that I would like to go. I know it's not in Pasadena, but it's still the Rose Bowl, and it might be the closest I ever get. So if anybody's out there feeling froggy, or maybe they just want to send me out to get COVID, I'll take those. I mean, if you just want to get rid of me that bad, I'll take you up on that offer. But we've got the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide sitting at 11-0 versus the number 4 Notre Dame 10-1 Fighting Irish. And Will, it was technically your turn to pick, so we're going to get your take first.
All right.
On who you think's going to win this
So
thing.
I saw a meme yesterday that this game is being touted as the Catholics versus the Cousins. Thought that was at least pretty funny. I think it's going to be the exact same thing. Just it's going to be like Manti Te'o's girlfriend. They're just not going to be there. And I think really it's just going to be Alabama. I mean, I know that, yes, I'm biased. I grew up, Alabama family, Alabama games, but I just don't think Book is going to I think he's had to make Notre Dame's season. Like, he is their star. And I don't know that they just have the firepower around him. I think he's a good player. I just don't think they hold much of a chance. So I'm going with the Tide.
Ben?
I enjoyed watching Notre Dame beat Clemson earlier in the season, but they just got routed by them this last game. And I think we saw kind of what they actually have. It seemed a little bit more realistic with Trevor Lawrence in the game and all that kind of stuff. I really do think Alabama's going to take this one. I think it'll be a pretty big win. I kind of thought that against the Gators too, and the Gators surprised me. So I may be wrong, but I'm going to go with Alabama as well.
All right, Blake Mahomes.
Well, I don't know what you were trying to do during the Auburn Northwestern pick. I don't know if you're trying to butter me up or guilt me into picking Alabama here, but it's not happening, Travis. I'm going with Notre Dame
The Fighting Irish.
Not so
Irish,
fast.
the
my
Fighting
friend.
Irish.
for no reason other than I want them to win. Alabama's probably going to win by 40, but I'm picking Notre Dame.
I think that we're in for a little bit of a shock. Like, I'm thinking a sort of like the Coastal Carolina game last night. Like, Notre Dame's going to do some things that that get us out of rhythm. I don't think that Notre Dame's going to have enough to beat us, but they're going to have enough to scare us a little, right? We're going to be really happy that they don't have a guy named Pitts catching the ball, which I'm still like, Trevor Lawrence is here in what scares me football-wise, and like Pitts is somewhere in here. But I am going to go with the Crimson Tide, but I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult because everything has been. Everybody that we've all been, oh, we're going to kill them. It's like, oh, here we go. So
It's true.
I think Notre Dame puts a little fear in us, but I do think Alabama pulls it out and wins.
Yeah, Ian Book's not a bad
No,
quarterback.
and he can move. That's always been a problem for Alabama and our open field tackling, which has gotten better. But I will say they're a little better than we're probably giving them credit for. And then the final pick, actually, I guess not the final pick. We've got a few more before we close out. But we've got one more everyone pick, and that is New Year's Day Sugar Bowl. Number 2, Clemson at 10-1 versus number 3, Ohio State at 6-0. And we will go with Will starting us off again.
All right, so I'm just going to follow up. Blake is a dear friend of mine, and I appreciate him. He's done a lot of things for me in my life. One thing is he has set an example in certain ways, and his example of just choosing Notre Dame over Alabama for no reason except that he wants Notre Dame to win is the exact reason that I want to choose Ohio State, because I would love for Trevor Lawrence to not be even close to the national championship if Alabama makes it past Notre Dame. And I would much rather see Ohio State. So more just a preference of who I would rather Alabama play if they so win and make it there.
Ben?
See, I want to do the same thing because I don't want Trevor Lawrence anywhere close to the national championship, just in case we do end up being there. It's tough though. I think I'm gonna have to go with Clemson. Trevor Lawrence is tough. I think Ohio State. I'm still a little bit shocked that they ended up in the national championship hunt. Although Bryce, I'm sorry if Bryce is listening. I know that you love Ohio State, but I'm just I'm glad you guys got your season, but I think it'll be over after Clemson. So I'm gonna go with Clemson here.
All right, Blake.
Well, guys, it looks like we are headed toward our 97th installment of Alabama versus Clemson. And I know you guys probably don't want to see Trevor Lawrence. Justin Fields, he's a good quarterback at Ohio State, but Clemson, as far as coaching, I'm giving them the edge. I think this is going to be a decently close game. I'm going to say it's within 10 points as well. But Clemson and Trevor Lawrence and ETN, and when it seems like when they get ready to turn it on, they flip the switch, and I think they're going to be ready to roll to meet Alabama in the playoff in the championship.
What you mean is when they actually play someone that has a pulse, they turn it on.
Yeah,
I think
that's
both
right.
of these teams, they've played one team outside of North Carolina that has a pulse that can run the ball and actually tackle. And of course Ohio State is what they have. Notre Dame is what they have. Nobody's playing the SEC schedule week in and week out. I'm kind of with Ben on Ohio State. Bama plays 11 games, loses their starting center. We all have those stories of people we've lost because we've played a full season, and 6-0 gets to jump in. But 6-0 is going to jump in, and they're going to take it. They're going to get their face rearranged because I wish, it's probably good that they played Northwestern played them so tight. But I do think Clemson probably, and Clemson's not really played anybody with Ohio State's, playmakers either. So I'll walk that back a little bit. I don't guess it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a little closer than that, but I do think we get another installment that might keep me up at night of Trevor Lawrence and the Crimson Tide. So
I think Dabo just puts his foot, on the gas too. I don't think there's any like holding back. Because Dabo wasn't very happy about all of it either, and I think he just ends up, no mercy.
I heard him talk about that on the TV. They were saying that, a lot of years you've had coaches who've made their points about themselves, and you saw that this year with Jimbo Fisher and some of the other ones. But they said this is the first year you've really seen them talking about who shouldn't be in it. Like making a case against Ohio State. So, that gives Ohio State a little bit of firepower coming in, though, some locker room chatter, but I don't think it'll be enough. So,
although Ryan Day did say, give me Notre Dame, Alabama, or Clemson, and use some certain language not appropriate for the podcast, he said, we'll beat them all. So he definitely gave some other people some bulletin board material for sure.
Like it. Well, now that the big games are out of the way, we're back to a few of the better matchups that aren't playoff matchups. We'll go with Will and the Gator Bowl on January 2nd.
The Gator Bowl, Kentucky and NC State. Kentucky comes in at 4-6. How do you make it to a bowl game at 4-6? I don't know. NC State comes in at 8-3. What's interesting is Kentucky is a 2.5-point favorite. And it seems as though a lot of people are going with Kentucky. I like Stoops. I think he does a good job. So I'm going to go with the SEC and Kentucky because they're a football school.
There you go. This year.
At least they are this year.
This year for sure. They have more wins as a football school than as a basketball school currently.
Is true.
That's interesting.
Blake, January 2nd, the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, we got the Fiesta Bowl with the Oregon Ducks. They're taking on the Iowa State Cyclones. I think here we go again for me, but it's going to be coaching. Both of these coaches are pretty good head coaches. They were both thrown around for rumored to be in the running for the Auburn head coach, and then Auburn does what Auburn does and goes off the cuff, gets someone nobody's ever heard of from the South. But Mario Cristobal, he's the coach for the Ducks. And Auburn actually beat them last year, but he always has a good, sound football team. They beat USC in the Pac-12 championship a couple weeks ago. And then you've got Iowa State. Man, I love watching Iowa State play football. Matt Campbell is their coach. They run the ball really good. They play good, solid defense. Oregon tends to win big games like this. But I think Matt Campbell is going to take Iowa State the next step with that running game and Breece Hall. And I think Iowa State is going to get it's an upset for me. I think they're favored, but I think Oregon has the better team on paper. But Iowa State plays more as a team. So I'll take Iowa State.
All right. Then you're going to wrap us up with the Orange Bowl on Saturday, January 2nd.
I've got Texas A&M versus North Carolina, 8-1 Texas A&M, 8-3 North Carolina. And, I think we're going to have some pretty pumped up, sour folks for Texas A&M. I don't know if there's a lot of guys sitting this game out, but they don't think they should be sitting out of the playoffs. And, we've seen what that can sometimes do to teams and just kind of deflate them. But I feel like Jimbo Fisher's going to have them ready to roll, and they are going to do the SEC thing, and they're going to trample North Carolina because they're bitter and they're mad. And I think the Aggies are going to take this one.
All right. I think North Carolina is going to be missing a running back as well. I think maybe their starting running back is going to be setting out, but this will definitely be a challenge. A&M could really make their statement. They're getting to play an ACC school, right? It's not Clemson or Notre Dame. but they get to play them. And, North Carolina played, I think, both of those. I know they played Notre Dame, played both of those schools. So A&M could, make an argument at least a little stronger that they should have been in. Of course, if Alabama routes Notre Dame, like most people think is going to happen, that will be a pretty good argument within itself. But appreciate you guys being with us. We'll return and record our national championship matchup. I hope that there will be lots of Alabama slander coming from Blake, which means they're in the football game after beating Notre Dame. That's what three of us are hoping for. And I think
you're going to get that from me.
Yeah.
Regardless.
So there you go. But hopefully it'll be a lot, because we'll be talking about them playing for a national championship.
We'll be looking forward to the slander,
Yes,
not
exactly.
looking back at how we got beat.
Trashed for losing to Notre Dame. December 7th, 1941 is a day that our grandparents and great-grandparents might recall vividly. Thousands of brave individuals answered the call to enlist and serve their country. Those back home waited and also served by providing essential support.
Since then, veterans have served in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Freedom, and the current ongoing global military operations. It's no surprise that our veterans have paid a huge price for the freedoms that we cherish. Serenity Counseling is honored to serve those who have served through their Renewed Warriors program.
If you are a veteran who struggles with post-traumatic stress, or maybe you love a veteran who is struggling with post-traumatic stress, it can often be hard to talk about. Drug therapy can often feel like a Band-Aid.
This program, the Renewed Warriors program, is free. Renewed Spirits is currently recruiting veterans for their equine assisted support group, working with horses outside in the open air. Give them a call or check out their website for more information and to be a part of this group. They'll let you know the details. All you have to do is report for duty. The horses are very good at helping, but you have to be in their presence for it to work.
Give the counselors at Serenity Counseling a call, 256-263-6367, or at their website, serenitycounselingshoals.org.
Serenity Counseling is located at 1954 Jackson Road in Florence, Alabama.
Serenity Counseling, where hope is given and healing begins.
Thanks for joining Ben, Travis, and Will on the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Make sure to go to benandtravis.com for more content and to download the free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living. BAT. It's in the name.